let's get to the main man here. Kind enough to join us again. Tim, I got to tell you, I didn't see a tail kicking of this magnitude coming. Was this not a tail kicking? You played almost 10 years. This was a tail kicking. Am I right?
You're 100% right. And let me tell you why. The narrative was spread so often, so many times. You did not want to go through Buffalo. You did not want to go through Buffalo. You do not want to play in Buffalo. And especially because the Bills were a very good team. So when you look at the performance today, or yesterday, I should say, when you look back, it was a complete domination of the Buffalo Bills. At home in Buffalo, you couldn't have put all the variables together. Bad weather, Buffalo, New York, Josh Allen, national media, with the exception of Von Miller, you couldn't have put all the ingredients together to not expect the Buffalo Bills, from the national media standpoint, to whip the Cincinnati Bengals. And from start to finish, this was a good old-fashioned take you behind the shed and spank that butt.
I want to ask you something we were talking about a minute ago, because it's become almost a given. The teams, if they win the toss, they're going to defer to getting the football to start the second half. About halfway through this season, Zach Taylor changed his mind about that thinking, and he decided if we win the coin toss from now on, we want the ball first. When you're an offensive player, do you want to be out there first?
Yes. And the reason being, you kind of control your own destiny. And especially from the Bengals, let's just face it, although the defense don't get the credit that they deserve, this defense has been absolutely wonderful. But you do have the star power of Joe Burrow, and not giving him the football at the beginning of the game. I wasn't really excited about that strategy. But when they changed it from an offensive standpoint, it's like, we can be up. We don't need a short field. The Cincinnati Bengals offense does not need the old school mentality of a short field to be successful. They can drive at 99, 98, whatever it takes, they can do it. They have the confidence, they have the talent. And, giving Joe Burrow the football at the beginning of the game, I thought was just magnificent in this particular game, because Thom, the Bills never stood a chance from the opening drive. The opening drive, it looked like it was flag football. And that's just had to be demoralizing, especially when Buffalo their offense didn't put any points on the board. So, once you get behind the Bengals, and they put together a complete game, and I had not seen that in a while.
I'm with you all the way. I thought it was the most complete game, and I know there are a lot of fans that'll say, what about this game, what about that game? In a meaningful, big-time game against a big-time opponent, it was the most complete game, in my humble opinion, that I've seen out of this team, even through the Super Bowl run a year ago. I just said in all phases of the game. All right, I want to get inside football a little bit here with you. You played for Sam. He obviously scripted plays. I'm assuming every single team scripts plays to start a game. Walk us through, Tim, for an offensive-minded coach, which Sam was and Zach Taylor is. You have the offensive coordinator in Brian Callahan, and certainly input from Joe Burrow. What is that like during the week to come up with that script?
The script is very important for reasons that people don't know. People think it's a strategy thing. It's a let me go out and we're gonna test this defense. If they plan a 4-3 or cover 3, it's cover 1. Actually, the number one reason, it's for the psychology or the psychological effect of the players. When you get that first 10 plays, and you see your name on it, you're going to be engaged. It's not one of those situations where you're going, I don't know if I'm going to get the ball today. You see, and Sam did a great job, of course, because we had, Boomer at the quarterback, myself, Eddie Brown, Chris Collinsworth, Ickey Woods and James Brooks and Rodney Holman. So it was very important for all of us to see that we were going to be a part of the game. Now, as the game progresses after those 15, Bruce Coslin and Sam, they always told us, the guy that has the hot hand or the group that has the hot hand, we're going to continue to ride that. And that's what you do. So you see the first couple of plays, Buffalo gave them the slant and Jamar Chase started. You knew once Jamar Chase started, you knew they were going to keep going after it and after it and after it. And that's what they did. But that's what the first 15 plays or 10 plays, however they scripted. But that's the most important part, to keep guys engaged, especially at the early stage of the football game.
The offensive line, it was the focal point the entire week. Were they going to be good enough? Were they going to protect Joe Burrow? Could they run the ball? Well, it was yes and yes, as we mentioned, to both of those questions. I think he only got hit 3 times. He was sacked once. They ran the ball incredibly well. But you're a guy that's sitting there paying attention. The rest of us are watching the ball. A guy like you're watching what some of these guys are doing. What were your thoughts about the 3 new starters along that offensive line? It's easy to say they scored 27 and they did all the things I just mentioned, but how did you feel they played in the game?
Well, the number one thing offensive linemen love to do is run. And their run game was on. And that's what's probably the most surprising element of the entire game, was the fact that it was like, okay, wait a minute, the Bengals have a run game? And Joe Burrow was, he was clocking 9-10 yards. And you knew, well, the reason being because the offensive line, those 3 much maligned offensive linemen that were obviously substitute backups, guys that are not supposed to play to the level of the starters, they came in and established the game early that they can run the ball. Well, okay, if you're running the ball effectively and you're a passing team, you just got the whole playbook at your hands. It's okay. What do we want to do? Do we want to throw the T? Oh, how about let's throw to the tight end? Oh, how about let's throw in a little run there. They kept starting with the offensive line. They allowed Joe Burrow, Zach Taylor, and Callahan, Brian that is, they allowed them to open up their playbook and just pretty much select whatever they wanted to do. And, because you can execute starting with those 3 guys, and they just play wonderful.
What was your thought on the touchdown catch by Chase that was overturned?
That it's one of those. When is a touchdown not a touchdown? It's like the ball's moving. That's just some technical BS. Come on, get away from that crap. It was a touchdown. Of course, there's this thing now. What our eyes see is not what our eyes see. Our eyes saw a touchdown, and I'm pretty sure the Buffalo Bills, although they were hoping it, but they saw a touchdown. But from the technical side, the ball moved, the string moved, and then it went from his middle finger to his baby finger, and therefore it's not a catch. But if it was on the sideline, it was a catch. It just, come on now. It's disappointing. The NFL has too good of a product to let little itty-bitty things like that possibly affect the outcome of the game. That's just poor. The competition committee needs to go back and clean that up.
Look, we have all week to talk about this, but I'm just kind of curious. I threw it out there at the very beginning. Carmen, I had said on the show last week, this young man was given a chance a year ago. He laid an egg. He didn't get it done when given that opportunity. He got this chance, the biggest start of his career, first time ever at left tackle. You barely ever heard his name, and for him, that's a good thing. He played very, very well. Jonah Williams came back the last time. He didn't even miss a game the last time after dislocating his kneecap. He had the same injury again against Baltimore. There's a chance you get Karras back, or Kappa back, rather. Maybe. It's all maybes. After what you saw yesterday, would you be hesitant to make any changes coming into this Kansas City game on the offensive line?
I would not make any changes. And here's why. I think this is very important. When you get 2 of those starters back, because we know Collins out for the year, if they are healthy enough to play, the problem is they may be 80%. Your backups who just played at 100%, I would rather have a guy at 100% than a guy at 80% when you're talking about the offensive line. They're going to have a bigger challenge against Kansas City. Buffalo was hurt. I'm not making no excuse whatsoever. None, zero. They played fabulous. But what I'm saying, I would not bring back someone from an injury unless it was your quarterback or a wide receiver. But I think you would be risking, or they would be risking a guy coming in, like I'm saying, he may try to gut through it, but at his 80% versus a backup 100%, a proven backup or backups plural, I think I would go with the backups.
I want to ask you about, you mentioned earlier, you played with Boomer. And anybody who spent 10 minutes around Boomer, you just kind of knew that he had that sort of it factor, right? That he was going to lead a team along with having a lot of great talent around him, you included, and a phenomenal offensive line and all those kinds of things. But, today, and you get the reactions and the overreactions and that kind of thing, really about two guys in the NFL today. And I wonder what is inside the head. And I'm not asking you to be Sigmund Freud here, but for Josh Allen and for Dak Prescott. These are two guys now that their fan bases are wondering, are these guys going to ever, quote unquote, win the big one? Do you know as a player whether you got the guy?
I think so, but it's what you put around the guy. And the best example in the NFL is probably Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson, we know, is a phenom. Josh Allen is a phenom. I wouldn't put Dak in that category. But Dak plays in a market in Dallas that, they have the best PR in the world. People expect them to win every single year, or they come out with all this PR that they're going to win, which the talent don't match what, that's one of those your mouth is cashing the check that you're behind, just probably don't have the money into the account. But anyway, I just don't think, I really truly do not think you can look back at guys and say they can't win the game, like the quarterback position is the only position that's going to equate to your success. And I've seen several times where, the quarterback plays a great game and they lose, and they still blame it on that guy. He's not that guy. But remember, our guy, Joe Burrow, hasn't won the big game. So are we setting it up where in a couple years we're going to say Burrow is great, but I don't know if he's that guy to win the Super Bowl? So I'm always hesitant to put too much focus on the quarterback position, because, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, they didn't win Super Bowls every year. Tom Brady won them a whole hell of a lot. But when they didn't win them, it wasn't because he wasn't that guy.
Ankle injury. And I don't know where all of a sudden we went in the world where it became a sprained ankle to a high sprained ankle. But it really doesn't matter. Your experience, and I heard Tony Romo, which I found to be very interesting yesterday. He made the comment, he said, look, when that injury happens and you're on the field, whatever it is they do to you in the locker room or the sideline, and I don't care what it is they do, Mahomes came trotting back out there, and Romo made the point. Your adrenaline's going. You're already warmed up. You can find a way to get back there and get on the field. When you wake up the next morning, you might need crutches to walk for the next 2 or 3 days. Is Mahomes going to be at 100%? Where do you – I know you don't have a crystal ball, but, based on your experience in these kind of injuries, how serious is that injury?
It's funny. I got to give you a inside the locker room story.
Good.
So when I played for the Redskins, I was working out in the offseason. I was working out at Princeton High School, where I stepped in a sprinkler head that was missing, and I messed up my heel. And I go on in the Redskins. I wasn't myself because I was limping. I had a terrible limp because it was so painful. I got a shot before a game, and I went out and had like 100 yards, touchdown, and all that. And, all the write-ups were good, and I'll never forget the shot wore off. I went to bed, and I got up to go to the bathroom, and I took a step, And I'll never forget, I was grimacing in pain. Like, what the hell just happened? So, it's like, yeah, you can get away. So I would agree with Tony. Yeah, when the adrenaline is flowing. Yeah, when you get that shot to pretty much, cancel the pain out. We call it numb it. And yes, it affects you for 2 or 3 days, but he has youth on his side. If that was to happen to you or and I, we would be out for 6 months. That happens to him, he'll be out 4 or 5 days. And just remember, he's a mobile quarterback, and a high ankle sprain. Will it affect him? I think so. But see, I always think that's scary. I think injuries are scary to quarterback because it makes them do what? It makes them focus more, because now they know they have to make up, because they make up for the loss of athleticism. So now they have to play a smarter game. So that kind of scares me or concerns me a little bit, because maybe he won't be as mobile, but he'll be smarter. He'll make the right decisions. He'll go through his read. He won't do more improvising. So that could be an advantage or disadvantage.
All right, well, speaking of advantage or disadvantage, before we let you go, everybody knows the Bengals have, quote-unquote, owned the Chiefs, right? I mean, Burrow's 3-0 against Mahomes. They beat him 3 times in a calendar year, including in this game a season ago, overtime game. Mahomes threw the pick in overtime. Bengals kicked the field goal, win the game. When you've had a team that, quote-unquote, at least for 1 year, has your number, based on your experience, does that help you, or in the back of your mind you're kind of going, ooh, if something goes wrong, they kind of got our number here? Or is that all just media talk and nonsense?
No, first of all the games have been great games. So both games could have gone either. All games could have gone either way. So with that being said, again, the concerning factor in that is, yes, you're going to get up for a team that's beat you that many times. Yes, and let's face it, the Kansas City Chiefs are really believing it was luck. It was bad luck for them, good fortunes for the Bengals. Yes, they respect the Bengals, just like everyone else. They're not going to give the Bengals credit. They're going to feel we didn't lose to the Bengals. We beat ourselves. And with that, my concern when you win, and you win 3 to 4 to 5 games, you have this win streak, there is some complacency on your behalf. Now, the exception will be, and I have to laugh, is this Bengal team. Every single angle we put in front of them, they come back and straighten it out. They're not supposed to win with three linemen out. They've lost their cover guy. They've lost just so many combinations. They played in Buffalo, New York, Thom. You're not supposed to win. But they do not get the memo. For some reason, they do not answer the mail. They don't open up the emails, and they don't get it, man. And they just go out and play their game. So I think they can beat Kansas City if they play their games. But Kansas City is, again, just as talented as the Bengals. They have a quarterback that's just as good, if not better, than Joe Burrow. They have talent all around him. It's going to be another great game.
All right, my friend. We thank you so much for your insight, Tim McGee. Thanks for your time, buddy.
I appreciate your time as always. Thanks for having me on.